Hey, good morning. I'd like to record a video. Yesterday, while touring in Minnesota, in Bloomington, Minnesota, close to my hometown where I'm at right now, Mr. Scott Weiland passed away of cardiac arrest at 48 years old. Causes are still undetermined. Speculation that it might have been a drug overdose, but also his current wife, saying that he's been off drugs for years. So you don't know. You just don't know. Every time something like that happens, it's a real shocker. It's really sad. Somebody young, fairly young, who looks like they're still, doing okay, have a long road ahead of them. Somebody who's not, by all accounts, at least, in the midst of drug abuse. Mr. Weiland did seem to have stayed sober for at least periods of time from the worst part of his heroin addiction. But it's still a real shocker, real sad. And people say, well, he was just famous and a celebrity. No, it's not just because he was famous and a celebrity. It's because he was a real talent. The man was a real talent. Whether or not you like their music, it's just just a fact that the man had a voice and an ability to convey his music in a way that very few people can. And oftentimes that's the reason for people's success. Sometimes it's not. But in his case, I believe that it definitely was. You don't just play with a band like Stone Temple Pilots, who are amazing musicians, and achieve that kind of success, and then go on to play with Slash from Guns N' Roses, and the bassist from Guns N' Roses, and the drummer from Guns N' Roses, which is truly probably the best band that ever was, and become its lead singer, and then achieve again pretty enormous success that Mr. Weiland achieved with Velvet Revolver. I thought of his bandmates, his former bandmates, all of whom really had very difficult experiences with him from what I read, and which is, easy to understand. And you think of what they might think, and I feel bad for them too. I feel probably the worst for them. Because these are people that are professionals, are amazing, gifted, in the case of Slash, just once in a millennium type of musicians, once in a lifetime type of musicians, and they're really good people. They just really have really good hearts, really good souls. They do what they do it very well, and they really put their jobs, their professions ahead of themselves. Anybody who's ever knows anything about music and what it takes to maintain that level of professionalism and performance and output that those two bands, all three bands all told, maintained, knows that it's not a joke, and it's harder than any regular job any people have. It doesn't matter that they made millions of dollars. Most people don't make millions of dollars because they don't have what it takes to do that. That's just a fact of life. It's enormous stress, it's enormous pressure, and so on and so forth. These are things that people can understand, whatever their situation in life is. It's fairly common sense. And I've worked with people that are difficult to work with. I mean, I myself have sometimes been difficult to work with, but, and sometimes there's not much you can do for a person, especially when it's an issue of your livelihood. When a person is difficult to work with, no matter how talented and gifted they are, when they put your livelihood in danger by their behavior, it's hard to help them. It's hard to clear the air and really be there for them when there's so many other things involved. And that's why I feel bad for his bandmates, because I feel that they truly love the man, because, gosh, I didn't know him personally, and I cared a lot about him as a human being, as somebody who loved his music and his voice. What can you say? I guess for my 2 cents here, I want to say that, nobody should blame anybody else, because that's what the media does, right? They make up stories when there's no stories so that people will click. That's how they make money. But it's all just a bunch of baloney. Everyone has kind of their own life to lead, and they can't lean on anybody else when it comes to their own personal choices. It's nice when you can find somebody who's there for you unconditionally, and it's clear as day with them, no matter how complicated the situation Maybe, but that's almost never happens. People are people, and everyone's fallible. And more often than not, even when you do find somebody who's there for you, you're not able to receive that help, because if the situation is really so bad where a person can't pull themselves out, it's almost like they're the only person that can help themselves. Now, I don't want to be saying something I'm not really saying, because when a person is really there for another human being, that's enormous, that's huge. But it's not so much the support as just having a sounding board, having a mirror. You can see yourself by seeing this other person, and when it's clear as day, when that person has nothing but goodwill towards you, or at least no resentments, you can see that however they respond to you is how it really is, because they have no ulterior motives. But at the end of the day, if someone is so deep that they can't pull themselves out, truly nothing else can help. And that may have been the situation of Mr. Weiland. He did have a very difficult, turbulent time in his life, but at the end of the day, he was a great talent, truly once in a one in a million type of guy. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. But I think he lived a good life. I think the music that he created was amazing, and there's no one to blame, and there's nothing to feel sad over. At the end of the day, your life is your life, and it goes the way it goes, and it's very hard to change things. It is. It's hard to change yourself, and it's hard to avoid things that end up happening, because if it was that easy, nobody would have to go through these things, which people do all the time, especially people in these high stress, high microscope occupations like Mr. Weiland was in. People don't understand what kind of pressure that's like. And you don't have to be a big celebrity yourself to understand it. You just have to be human, and then you can kind of see what somebody else is going through. That's what I wanted to say.